and gentlemen, it is my privilege to welcome you to the maiden edition of the Virgin First Energy Visionary Series with the topic Value-Driven Leadership, Building Lasting Impact Through Daily Leadership Choices. This, our maiden edition, the Virgin First Visionary Series, is a quarterly platform for us to, have an intimate one-on-one conversation with bold thinkers, with transformative leaders, and with visionary pioneers who are redefining the future of business and leadership. I'm your host today. My name is Elizabeth, and with me is Hyacinth.
With us today, as our guest speaker and the chief speaker for this event, we have no other person other than the chairman, founder, Virgin Forest Group, which consists of Virgin Forest Energy, Virgin Forest Exploration, Mantle Farms, chairman of Bime Exploration and Production. He is also the chairman of Fidelity Pension and the group managing director of Carry Asset Management Limited. This is a fellow and alumni of Accounting Department, University of Lagos. Is a fellow, Chartered Institute of Accountants. Is also a fellow, Chartered Institute of Taxation, Nigeria. He holds an MBA from Lagos Business School. He also holds a degree in IESE Business School, Barcelona, Spain. He also holds a business degree in University of Pennsylvania, United States of America. No other person than Sir Johnson Chukwu. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Sir, it's a privilege and an honor to have you here with us today. Sir, with respect to the topic, we all know what leadership is, or we feel we know what leadership is. A lot of us see a leader as the shepherd of the flock. It's one or call, order, follow. But sir, there's something special about yours and your own style of leadership. We would like to know how it is that you put in place value leadership in all you do. Sir.
Okay, thank you, Hyacinth, and thank you all, the entire staff and management of Virgin Forest, for the opportunity and privilege to engage with you once again. And then for the panelists, it's also my pleasure to have both of you, Hyacinth and Elizabeth. The question is, what is unique or special about my own leadership style? And you're the one that is conducting is value-based. So if that be the case, I basically share with you some of my views about leadership. And the first and most important aspect of leadership is that leadership must walk the talk. When I say walk the talk, you must lead from the front. You must practice what you preach. So, because in the first place, most people who have attained the position of leadership have a fair idea what it involves. Sometimes you see people theorize about what leadership is all about. They pontificate on good leadership attributes, but they don't practice it. So, if you are to talk of value-based leadership, the value-based leadership must start from the point where you say, look, whatever I ask you to do, I'm going to do it. Whatever risk I want to take, I will take it with you. And whatever benefit that accrue to us, I will share with you. If I tell you to work 24 hours, I should be able to work 24 hours. Okay, so that's the starting point. The other aspect that relates to value-based leadership is very simple thing if you understand the concept of morality. You see, morality defines our personality as human beings. Because no matter your background, no matter what, you have the conscience that defines what is good and what is bad. Even when you are involved in doing things that are bad, you know they are bad. An armed robber knows robbery is bad. A prostitute knows prostitution is bad. A fraudster knows fraud is bad, in as much as they may practice it. So one of the core values one of the core issues you have to learn about value-based leadership is that you must align your actions with your conscience. Morality is the strongest law. The issues about religion are defined and built around morality. Christian religion, Islamic religion, Hindu religion, all of them are built around morality. What is good and what is bad. So you must ask yourself, the action I need to take, the decision I need to take, does it hurt anybody? Is it based on personal vendetta? Is it based on hurt? Is it based on acrimony? And then you ask yourself, will it create value? Okay, and will it not degrade the moral and physical attributes of the society? If you define those things, it becomes easy for you to lead a provide value-based leadership.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, from your previous questions, you made, if I had counted the number of times you made mention of morality, I would have lost touch of it. So I just want to ask, are there real life situations where, you had experienced, where you were in a position you had to, make a decision and you were held back between morality and, making that decision? Were there measures you took, that guided you as you made that decision, even as you had earlier made mention of morality? How were you able to handle those situations? And are there real life lessons we can, learn from those, that phase of your life, sir?
Yes, there are instances where I had to take actions that are contrary to the values I believe in. And those things I always take a look. Because of the environment where we operate, there are instances where you are held at ransom and you have to take a rational, logical decision to minimize the consequences or the situation you found yourself. If today, none of us will want to pay a ransom, but if today you are kidnapped, anybody's kidnapped, it is against the law, it is against your good conscience, but you are held to ransom. So you pay ransom to save life, not because you believe in it. You know what they're doing is wrong. So but what do you do in a situation like that, which is basically your action? There are instances where you have to take a practical action. If you're a Christian, you know about the story of Abraham and Sarah, and where Abraham had to state that Sarah was his sister when actually she was
his wife.
And it was ordinarily that amounts to lying. But the practicality of the situation Abraham found himself was that he may not have left that place with his life. And his wife could have also had become betrothed to the man who killed him. So he had to take a wide decision and God intervened. So there are instances like that. But what do you do as a value-based leader? What you do is that where you find an environment, a business project, a relationship, the relationship could be between you on one-on-one, what we call person to person. It could be a relationship in a corporate environment where it becomes toxic or you're asked to do things unethical or against the moral values. Then what you do is extricate yourself from such environment. And if it's a business relationship, avoid such business relationship. If it's with an individual, minimize or eliminate those contacts. And I give you a live example of Kaure. We took a decision in Kaure that we're not going to do business with government. And when we said we're not going to do business, we tried government at all levels. We granted loans for somebody who did jobs with NEDC. Since 2019, we have not repaid. We did jobs for Imo State government, we are still being owed. We did jobs for the government of Kano State under Dr. Ganduje. We have not repaid. So we looked at it and said, look, this is a universal practice. And where they want to pay you, they're asking you to bring a court. And those are against the values we strongly believe in. So what do we say? We say, look, okay, you know what? This is not a segment of business we'll do. We'll rather remain poor or relatively comfortable and avoid government than go and do things that are completely against the values we believe in. So by pulling away from public sector relationships, we can remain true to the values we profess. And that's where you talk of value-based leadership, because you must make choices. In business leadership, in life, you must make choices. You must ask yourself, which option is the most appropriate for me, given who I am, who I want to be, and what I want to live for.
Okay, well, it's this is the society where we find ourselves, and as they again, like you have said to us now, it means we must be able to adjust, but not to go us out of our moral values. Also, considering still on this same society where we find ourselves, you as a leader, you work with different people from different walks of life, the people with different emotions, people with different educational background, people with different morals. You have people who feel suppressed, some who feel oppressed, people who need supervision, and then you also have people who can work without supervision. How have you been able to pull this team together and still remain a successful leader?
Okay, one of the things I know about humanity is that on average, most people, and that's why you look at the distribution, what they call normal distribution curve, where if you look at the pyramid distribution, where some people tend towards a abnormal, positive abnormality, and some people tend towards negative abnormality, but most people cluster around the middle. The people who tend towards negative abnormality, your recruitment process should be able to sieve them out. Okay, if you have a good human capital policy, the process of recruitment will sieve out those with negative abnormality. Even those with positive abnormality also have their tendencies that you have to manage. So most times you recruit people who are clustered within the normal distribution. So if you do that, then that assumes that most people that will work with you are normal people. Like I said, you have abnormalities, but your recruitment process, you decide, should eliminate to a reasonable extent their abnormalities. Then if you're working with reasonable people, the first thing you need to do is make people know what is the reason why they have to do what you want them to do. So there must be a reason behind the work you want people to carry out. It's not just enough to say do it. And if you start by educating people on why they have to do what you want them to do, then you move to the point of letting them the purpose of that, the value of what you want them to do, how it contributes to the whole. Because otherwise people are doing things by rote. They don't associate with what they're doing, and they are unable to commit to it. So when you teach them why they have to do what they have to do, the values that their actions or inactions will contribute or lead to loss, and then you let them know. From there, you need to now let them know the implications of not doing what they're supposed to do. So in that case, the cost implication of what they do, you start from the reason behind it, the logic behind it. Then you look at the value. Then you talk about the cost. Then when you talk about the cost, you now let them know the sanctions for and the benefits for them of not doing what you want them to do or not doing what you want them to do. So people must know, how do I fit into this whole? What's in it for me? So it's a work environment, you let people know that. And that's why you must have, for human capital, you must have your progression guide. The progression guide will say that if you do this and doing it to this extent, this is the reward you get.
It means we should detach ourselves from it emotionally.
You don't really fully detach yourself from emotion, because human beings are emotional. Human beings we are humans. We humans have relational need. And that's why you must create an environment that has human relationship values. When people come to us and say, look, I want to see my colleague, their colleagues are not repulsive to them. But that's the next level of it. So when they now know the benefits that accrues to them and the sanctions that will apply to them when they fail to do, when they do what they're not supposed to do. And then from there, if you do these things, starting from education, advice, which is caution, warning, and sanctions. So you're going to realize that most people will comply. And why you need to ensure that there is what's in it for them is defined. The simple reason that they tell you human beings are selfish. And that's why good leaders must harmonize, or what we call, you must address the agency conflict. There's just a conflict that people want to do something that benefits them. Whatever benefits them must also benefit the organization. When you have a perfect alignment between what benefit individuals get in an organization and the benefit the organization gets, you have a perfect harmony, and you will have people work with you without compulsion, without any pressure. They automatically want to do the work because, look, they're doing the work because they get a benefit from it. And getting their benefit, the organization's benefits also enhanced. So those are the things you need to do. And you realize that, like I said, most people that are rational, most people are normal people, they all want to grow. I'm not sure I've seen too many people on those that are called abnormalities that do not want to live good life. They want to marry, they want to live in good houses, they want to buy cars, they want to dress well, they want to have children, train their children and stuff like that. So if you can align the actions and the benefit the organization will get from them to what they want to be in life, and not like, if I work in this organization, and then if I do this, I can get promoted in 1 year, 6 months, in 2 years, as 10 years I could be a manager. At manager, I have a car, I have enough income to buy a car. At senior manager, I can start building a house. They want to align with that, and they will throw themselves to achieve the overall corporate objective while beneath their thought process, unconsciously, they are also pursuing their personal improvement.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Officer, I'll take us back to our topic for today, value-driven leadership, building lasting impact through daily leadership choices. So I believe that before a child starts running, the child must have crawled, right? So would you would you give us real life experiences or insights into how I was, when my co-host was reading through your biography, I was just smiling here and there, and I'm like, this person has really come a very long way. So can you give us this real life insights into how you've come to this point of not just being any leader, I mean a visionary leader, a leader who has has made an impact over time in the energy space, and not just in the energy space. I mean, I believe the audience also wants to know how did this man get to this point? What did he do? I mean, to
It strikes like achievement of centuries.
very
But
well said.
it's within a century.
Okay, I think the first starting point is the value you place on your person, your own self-worth, your own self-value. That value will mean that you will determine what you want to be in life. I tell people that they say in life that I hear stories that a life that is unexamined is not worth living. So, but you must stand by, who do I want to be in life? And that's very critical. And I always say, the earlier you make that decision, the better for you. But it's never too late to make that decision unless you have completely damaged your reputation. Because if you damage your reputation, it becomes difficult to rebuild. But if you have not damaged your reputation irretrievably, you can make a decision and say, this is what I want to be in life. So, and that decision must, once you define where you're going to in life, then you must fit every action you want to take into that larger whole. And what I mean by fit every action you want to take into the larger whole is that there are actions that will come to you that be with short-term gains, short-term excitement, short-term fun. You ask yourself, does it fit into what I want to be? Will this jeopardize where I want to be? Is this part of what I need to do to get to what I want to be? So that's for me. And I give you my own story. At the age of 13, I decided I was going to be an accountant.
At that very young age?
Yes, I was coming to that. I wanted to ask if you are tailored this way or you were patterned and guided through it.
No, at the age of 13, I made a decision I was going to be an accountant. And as a young person, I was only applying for the JAMB. I'd spelled accounting. Nothing more. And what defined that? It's, of course, childhood impressions are important, so you must make sure you expose children to very positive impressions. I was a class rep or class captain or whatever they call it now. And then I went to the staff room to call our economics teacher. That economics teacher was actually doing the people who are doing NCV, they post in the school for practical training. I don't know how they call it now. Teaching practice. So, and I walked into the room, the teacher's room, and then there was a hot exchange, almost turning towards a fisticuff between our English teacher and this economics teacher. And so I stood briefly by the door, and when they saw me, I ran away. And then, but I internalized the conversation that was going on. So the English, I'm trying to look for a very slim person, someone that looks like a boom. That's how the English teacher was looking, very gut looking. And then you had the economics teacher that was looking at that child as Obaka or barrel chested, full on the, like we say, the dig background. And the English teacher was the one who was so aggressive, pointing his fingers at him and saying he would beat him up. There's no way on earth, even if they tried the economics teacher said that the English teacher will beat him up. So, but what he said was profound. He said, look, if I finish beating you, they will dismiss the two of us. And you will never, even when you go back to Harvard, because that teacher came from Harvard, that's Harvard Legal College of Education. But even when you go back to Harvard, because of that record that you fought, they will never deploy you, never get a job. But you will never get a job. So I think I flipped it. That was economics teacher saying that, saying that he will beat up the English teacher, and that the English teacher will never get a job. So, but for him, he can work elsewhere. I'll just go to PZ and get a job. And PZ was a big company there. Or I go to Unilever.
Those are big companies.
Those companies were in Apade. So, when the issue had, so our vice principal who saw me, later someone me, say, what did I see? What did I hear? Which Canadian's mother. So I now asked her, we used to call her chamber because it was TGT, what just come and so we call her chamber. So, and I asked her, why did this teacher said the other teacher won't get the job and he will get the job, the lazy? She said to me that because he studied accountancy. You know the way they say, well, because he studied accountancy. You know, accountants, they can get jobs anywhere. They can be the boss. The boss at the school is an accountant. They can work in anywhere, ministry, hospital, PZ, Nigerian breweries, all the companies that were in Abada. She mentioned all the names. And their skills, sought after. So I just said to myself, I will be an accountant.
Oh, that single decision shaped.
That was. So, something because he was also our guardian counselor. She also told me subsequently that accountants are paid so well that they don't need to collect bribe. That most accountants won't collect bribe because they are paid so well because they are always looking after them, looking for them. So that for me, two things. I said I need to study a course that I will always get a job and highly well in need of. Two, that course will allow me never to have any need for inducement. And when I say this, I worked in the back industry for 22 years. I never collected, never received any form of inducement. I never got any gratification. You know the kind of thing, you do a good job, they come back to you and say, look, you didn't done a good job for us, so take this. I'm saying it because one of the things that when you talk of value-based leadership is that the people who know you best are those around you. You know, whatever people around you say is who you are. So if I can't say it the way my wife is, if I'm afraid that she will scream. I said, how can my husband come here and just blow this lie? one of the gifts I got was from her friend's husband, who I helped get a building construction contract when I was in the bank. Maybe that was 2001 or so. I think 2001. We did a branch for us, and he brought me a suit on my bed. I rejected it. She was the one I pressed on me that I must take it. I said, look, I don't want gratification. He said, this is my friend's husband. Is it a suit that they will use to bribe you? I said, no, I don't need it. So that's how, but I can also tell you that living ethical life, building a life that is based on core values, will lift you faster than those peanuts that people pick along the way. In the first place, because every kobo you make is by dint of hard work, you can't be frivolous in your expenditure. So that's the first. So it gives you the discipline to be prudent. 2, because people will eventually speak about you. Even people who are criminally minded will rather entrust their resources to you than give it to somebody who is their game. So it is you that will say, I don't want to associate with this. I've had instances in my life where people who have been in public service, they will dare me witness. Who have been in public service, who have finished serving, to say, help us keep this. And we say no. Maybe we pick it for the first 1 month or 2 months, we say, no, we're returning your time. We can't keep something for people like you. I've had instances where somebody invited me to be on the board of his companies. After a few months, I went back to him and said, look, I cannot continue because of who you are. So, of course, I didn't tell him because of who you are, but behind me, I couldn't be seen negotiating with him. But what happens that is you are a value-based leader. You will attract the love, the patronage of people who are looking for ethical people. And the 99.9% of people looking for ethical people to associate with, even when they are not ethical themselves.
It's quite insightful. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, sir, from what you told us now, this is like a biography, an autobiography of yourself. We know that nobody starts running without falling sometime. We would like to know, and I guess the audience would also like to know, has there been a time that you've made choice that has taken you aback, you feel set back, and how did you resolve this, if there'd been, and how did you regain the confidence of your team?
Okay, one of the things I say is that anybody says I've never made a wrong judgment, the person had never made any judgment. But always ask people, be very deliberative in your decision-making process. Do not be spontaneous. And I tell people, look, I'm not a spontaneous person, and that's why you will hardly see me show negative emotion. Because 99% of the time, I would think through it. Even if it's for a split second, I will try to put it within the context of my decision-making matrix, which is 1, what is the purpose? Will it further the overall personal values? Will it further the values of the organization we are making visions for? Okay? And then, does it have negative reputational impact on me or the organization or the larger group that I belong to? A group you belong to, including your family and friends. So you need to look at those things. Within that split of a second, if you ask, what's the purpose of this decision? What do we want to achieve? And then, the decision I want to take, what will it overall? What's the long-term implication? So what's, in the case you're saying, look, after this, what next? Okay? Because some things will come to you and happen to you and you need to take a decision instantly. So within that split second when you think, and if it is not a life and death decision and you can't process this logic, ask for time. And I was telling somebody yesterday that, look, heavens will not fall if you take a 10 minutes, a 1 day to think through a complex issue and seek for opinion from people who are more knowledgeable than you. But even at that, you will still make some mistakes in the past. With benefit of hindsight, you say, look, but one of the things that people look, throughout my leadership journey, 99% of the decisions I've taken are such that if you put the same circumstance and the same information that was at my disposal when I took that decision. If you still place to anybody, they will still take a decision that's close to the decision I took. So once you do that, you do not, somebody may pan out negative. Macroeconomic environment are completely unpredictable, so you can't say you know it all. So the decisions you take, and I can, Jordan, we may not have time, I can give 1 million one instances. When we started Cowdy, we started going very fast. And then everybody, including my bosses in the bank, were telling me, look, at this rate, Johnson, you guys are taking over this market. We started with maybe a loan of, maybe, was it up to, maybe, I think 20 million from GT Bank. They moved it to 50 million, 100 million. And then Igbodi and Herbert moved to Access Bank. And their team, including RSA and those who are managing the account, all moved with them. Okay, they moved with them from this to Access Bank. And immediately, the first thing they came to me and said, look, we're moving your account to Access Bank. And we'll double. No. And the market was good. So we accepted. They moved it from 100 million, 200 million. They moved it to 1 billion. They moved it to 1.5 billion. This was a company that took just barely a year or two. And then business was good. Profit was coming. They even came to us and said, look, where we are staying now, find out if they want to sell this property because you are doing well. We will buy it for you, give you money to buy it. Then the market crashed. And then we lost everything, made a negative of more than $1 billion. Because how much capital did we have then? So we made a negative of more than $1 billion. And this is a company, I'm only talking $1 billion in 2008, 2009, 2010. $1 billion then is worth more than 20 billion today. So that was, but then that is when value-based leadership comes about. You ask yourself, if I take a short-term decisions to escape this situation I found myself, what will eventually happen in the long term? Sometimes short-term comfort, short-term looks very attractive. But bear in mind, always ask yourself, so would this overall, in the long run, still allow me to achieve what I want to be? Like I said, you must start from having a defined vision of who you want to be as a player. Then, some of my directors came to me and said, look, Johnson, this is a no-case situation. This is there's no way we will trade out of this. So let's shut down Cowdy, probably go and start another business. And then, maybe we could be another time. And then at the same point, I was getting calls. I got a call from my former boss, who was now a very senior management staff of EBA. I said to me, Johnson, we have a job for you because I have worked with me, knew who I am. And you can join us and I will look for an ED for you. So, and I said to them, I said, look, I have cut the bridge. I have crossed the river. I've cut the bridge. I will go back to paid employment. But I also said to my directors that I will fight with my life to pay this loan. I mean, some of my staff are here. I used to tell them that, look, you see me, that I will die standing up. I'm saying it to also motivate young people. That I will start rising. You know what it means? That I will walk and be, that I'm not going to lie down and say, look, the world has come to an end though. So that's kind of values I believe in. So at the end of the day, we kept fighting on. We sold everything we had. We held, at that point, we had 20% of Mansard. When Mansard was incorporated, they came to us, we invested in Mansard. The Mansard insurance you are talking about, we had 20%, we sold it out. Used the money to pay Access Bank. Everything we had, we sold. And then the loan was still huge. Then every work we were doing, we had to diversify our business. It was a stock-breaking house that we started. We had to get an insurance license, got mandate from the state government. That was our first mandate, and then started paying the loan. At some point, we had to go back, and they were willing. They said, look, of all the people who are owing us money for margin loans, you are the only one who is paying, who has said, I would die paying them. Go away. So we sat down, they granted us some waiver, and we cleaned that loan. Everybody is still there. It's alive to testify to this. Dr. Okemwoke is not a lecturer in RSA Alonge is still there. So I'm talking about people who were involved in this. But at the end of the day, if we had backed down, we would have sullied our reputation, and it wouldn't be possible for us to even start building or any other place. But because we were determined that no setback should vitiate our long-term goal. And I also say this to people who are in employment, who are doing business. You're likely, you cannot avoid setbacks in life. But when it happens, what I tell people, look, setbacks for me are part of the bumps on the journey to your destination. They are, in other words, the setbacks are part of the bumps and the journey to your destination. They can only slow you down. They shouldn't deter you from getting to your destination.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very well.
Tell us.
For the audience here,
Yes.
please, this is an interactive session. We expect just signify us if you have any questions or need clarification of our guest speaker. However, for those viewing online, please go to the question session and please note your question and we'll get back and respond to you. He will respond to you. Sir, coming back home, Virgin Forest Energy. For the past 2 years now, there's been a change in the sector, the oil and gas sector, and with our own refinery, as it is, even if it's private, but supposed to serve the nation, it is ideal that things will become easier for us with regards to transportation. Basically, Nigeria is powered by fossil-driven, well, what's up? It seems the reverse is the case. A lot of players in the industry have folded up, small players have folded up, some have removed. Even the big players are now selling their entities here. So we would like to know how you've been managing, have you been able to stay afloat with regards to these challenges?
I think that we said it's also appropriate, but let me hazard a guess. Let me support. Okay, one of the things you do, because we're talking leadership, so I'm going to expand every question into leadership. I've said, start with the vision of yourself. So organizations must also have a vision of themselves. And then we have a vision. From the vision, you have to define the vision. The vision is like, who do I even want to be when I mature? When I've accomplished everything? And that once you do that, so like I said, you're also going to have setbacks. But the other thing you need to know is that when you have your vision, you must have a strategic plan on how you want to achieve your vision. Your strategies are already defined, are remodeled, are refined along the line. It's like a football team. A coach will come and say, we're going to play 4-3-4 or something like that, or 3, whatever you guys call it. And then you say, look, I'm facing this team, so I expect they will use this player and this player and this player, and this player, the opposing player will play this swing, and so this is the person who will mark him down, all those things. And then as all, we enter the pitch, and the other team switches the players. So you're not going to crumble and say, look, what I prepared though is not what I meant. So the key thing in your strategy must be dynamic. Do you get what I'm saying? So when you say the strategy must be dynamic, you must continue to what environmental scanning. You must know how the world environment is. The change environment is very dynamic. There is no business that has been around for 100 years that was doing exactly what it started doing. So the fact that environment has changed does not mean why companies fail is that, and I always say this, look, companies fail not because of hostile macroeconomic environment. Companies fail because of failure of leadership to transform their strategy in tandem with changes in the environment. And if successful leaders, successful businesses are those who are able to front load the actions ahead of the changes in the environment, they perceive the environment, then they say, look, this is going to be this, what the environment is going to be, and because the environment is going to be this, I'm going to take these measures ahead of even the crystallization of what will happen. And I give you an example, which is what you asked. For instance, when we're setting up when we started Virgin, we started as at best a bulk breaker, a retailer. But when we matured into the point where we wanted to buy a tank farm, which is a very critical asset for the downstream operators, we said, look, we're not going to buy the tank farm in Lagos. We're going to go to a place, because by then Dangote has started constructing his facility. And we said, look, Dangote will disrupt the Lagos market. But because the cost of fossil fuel is, the cost of transport is a major cost in the cost of fuel. So it will still be cost efficient to take products from even Dangote refinery to Port Harcourt or Oron or outside Lagos. To truck the entire consumption of the country from Lagos will not be cost efficient. So even if Dangote puts a truck to Aba and we load the same products from Dangote at the refinery and take it to Oron, we will land at filling station in Aba cheaper than what Dangote will land. So we thought through that and we said, look, this is what may eventually happen. So when we thought through that, we said, okay, for that reason, we are going to build our critical storage facility where there is no competition in terms of refinery. The second thing we said was, look, we are going to build our retail outlets under what I call a winner spoke arrangements. Because sometimes people ask me, why do you have your retail outlets mostly in the East? I say, because you don't need to go and verbalize that. But truth is that what we did was a will and spoke arrangement, where we say, look, our station will be some distance from our major storage facility, so that when there is stiff competition, all we just need to bring products and distribute to our stations. So we are trapping the entire value chain of that retail business. And those are the things that we thought through. So like I said, even at that, there are changes. So in as much as you define, but you must have a clearly defined strategic plan. When you have your strategic plan, you must now consciously and regularly review the strategic plan, still in tandem with development. Excuse me. Beyond that, we have also said, look, beyond liquid fuel, we also look at going to gas. And today we are implanting gas facilities in our retail outlets. So we say subsequent retail development must have a gas facility. So you expand your source of revenue from a retail outlet, as well as you also de-risk the investment you're making in the retail outlets. So the key thing is that, like I said, the take-home point is that it is leadership that fail when organizations fail, not environment that fail. So the businesses that are failing are because of the quality of leadership. I had an encounter yesterday. In Cali, we are trying to transform further into other lines of business in tandem with our area of business. And I had a relation with two people who were leading institutions that we will call competitors of our people who are leading that business. And I looked at the quality of the leadership and I said to myself, Nick, Johnson, you now have a compelling need to fast track what you guys are doing, because if this is the competition you're going to meet, they won't see our back once we roll out. So leadership is very critical in the success of the organization. So we must give credit to your managing director and the management team that dynamic transformation of strategy is important in organizations succeeding even when the environment changes.
Please being sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, sir, you had earlier said it is not the business that fails, right, but the leadership. Exactly. So I'm going to take you back to what you earlier said as regards the issue you had, the setback you had whilst you were, setting up career and all of that. As a leader, how were you able to, what would you say were the qualities that stood you out, that made those persons you were leading have confidence in you, even when you were experiencing those setbacks, to still say, oh, regardless of this position or where this person has taken us to, I don't think I want to back down. We are humans. We understand that, of course, a leader would make mistakes and all of that. But at that point in time, what would you say made them have that belief in you that regardless of what has happened, I will still remember Mr. Johnson Chukwu because I know that he's heading somewhere. I would not back down.
I never said everybody followed me.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so.
Okay, let me put it in the context. The reality is that they don't attribute you have, that everybody will love you and follow you to your grave. It doesn't exist. So the key thing is this. You must, I've talked about the need to share values, to have shared values, to have shared interests, to have community of interests, where your success is your success and your success is your success. So people work towards their own personal success, and because of doing that, they also work towards their corporate success. But even at that, there are instances where people who were even your rabid supporters, your loyalists, may not be able to face the intensity of the fire. Okay, so we've had instances, but the truth is that once you have defined your primary objective, you are not deterred by setbacks. And I have had that. When we ran into the storm, the two most senior people in Cali resigned the same day.
Wow.
I'm sure my colleagues here will remember. Two of the people who were my right-hand men, where it's like in the Bible, they say, hold my hand, let's keep fighting. When they saw how thunderous the wind was, and they felt that they wouldn't sink with this, two of them came to me. Obviously, they would have talked to themselves, because the first thing came, I said, you can't leave now. We're in this together now. And this started carrying before me, because when the day we were supposed to start carrying, the bank held me back and said I need to be in another 6 months. And they came and started. So they were the pioneer staff. And I'm talking of senior people, senior. Without me, they were running the company. And then the first person came and said, okay, it's difficult to say this, but I've looked at this and I have another job. So I need to go and take that job. I said, but you can't do this. And I said, no, I have to go. I said, no problem. That's fine. The next, I wanted to call the other person so that we can discuss. Your colleague he's going, and then she came to me and said, okay, I'm sorry, but I didn't get another job, but I just want to go and cool off. I can't continue with this. So it's not that I'm going to the competitor. I'm not going to the, but I can't continue. I want to. So just imagine in that situation. But like I said, there's nothing you do that everybody follow you. But what did I do? Like the Bible said, David called himself in the Lord. I sat back and said, I wasn't born with any of them. And therefore, as a matter of policy, which is also why some people may think I am a strong person, I long realize that neither your parents nor your children will be with you all through your life. My father is God. And I'm sure some of you have lost one of their parents. So you need to build your personality, your spiritual strength, your emotional strength to withstand losses that are close to you. Because they will happen. If you do not part with people in a work environment, somehow you will part. It's either you part when you retire, or you part. Some of you will die, some who will die at work. So one of the things I learned is that the loss of even a critical staff should not be the end of the organization. But the take-home point, the nugget is this: you must build an institution that does not rely on any individual. And that's why in a good organization, they say you have key man risk. You must be risk of company of key man risk. You must make sure that if this person is not there, another person will do the job. It's very important that you do this organization of key man risk so that nobody's absence will lead to the failure of the organization. And I tell you, look, if you run a business or if you lead an organization where one person will determine whether the business continues or not, you don't have the business. You can as well shut it down. So, having said that, the other part of what you do is that you must engage. At that point, I was having regular meetings with the staff. I was sharing with them and they must be brutally honest. And that's why in Cali, I don't say most things. There's nothing in Cali that only I have information on. There's nothing. In fact, a lot of things that I would need to seek for the information from my colleagues. So, but basic thing is that you must be brutally honest with people you are leading. 2, you must continuously communicate, share the situations and what you're doing about it. You must show them the path out of the difficult situation. Otherwise, people will lose hope. They tell you that what is promise delayed is promise deferred. You see, promise delayed makes hope the heart to go faint, something like that. So you must tell people, the people who work with you must say, look, this situation will find ourselves. The leader has charted a route that will take us out. Otherwise, they won't die in the trenches with you forever. If you are a general leading an army and you are surrounded by enemy, if you want your men to keep fighting, you must assure them there would be a reinforcement. Otherwise, they will just say, what's the purpose of fighting? They're going to kill us. But if you assure them there will be reinforcement, they will fight with the expectation that reinforcement will come. And that's why in life, you must maintain hope, positive hope. Life, once people lose hope, they lose the desire to live. They need the desire to fight. And that's why I did a conversation with my colleagues last Monday where I said, your faith will determine your fate. Your confidence that will come out of this situation makes you to fight on. If you do not have the confidence you come out of the situation, you will not be able to fight on. And I'm sorry because I'm a minister, so I'm not ashamed to say that. The 10 lepers, not the 10 lepers, the lepers that said, look, we would rather die than going to look for food and sit back here and die. And because they were carrying their walking stick, they were making so much noise that the enemy ran away. So, but because you must believe that the future exists for you and that you are strong enough to take the future. So when the setback comes, it could come in any form, but make sure you communicate, make sure you share, and you must live true to what you have said. And that's where I started. You must be honest. You must walk your talk. You can't tell the staff that, look, you know what, let's fight on because we're going to come out of it. But they had a history of you that when things were good, you are the one that was dropping it alone. So if you do that, they won't work with you. So yeah, whether people will abandon you at some stage in your life, it will happen. But you must be the center of your life. That means you are not looking for validation permanently, and you don't lose awareness of who you are and where you are going to. These things are very important to deal with: setbacks, disappointment, betrayals. They happen in life. The other side, I had a friend who went to bury another child not too long ago. Because his son didn't show love for him, he became miserable all his life. And I'm sure that misery was this is why he couldn't survive, he couldn't live on. So he wanted the love of his son. He loved his son to smithereens. But when his marriage failed, the son aligned with the mother, and he couldn't get over it. So you must have the strength of character to look. You are not born with anybody, you're not going to die with anybody. Just achieve what you want to achieve in life.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah.
That was really insightful. Thank you very much, sir.
So, we need to get questions from online.
Yes.
I have a question here from Mr. Justin Zokwe. He would like to know, sir, when you wake up every morning and carry out your daily routine, irrespective of your domestic responsibilities, do you have a routine that is periodic, daily, or step by step that helps you remain and maintain who you are?
Okay, it's not really a routine, but one of the things I do every day, Because when you talk about routine, I wake up, I kneel down, pray, that I do very short prayer. It's that for me. It's not a routine. But one of the things I do that have helped shape me to who I am today is I do self-introspection every day. Self-introspection. I ask myself, what did I achieve yesterday? What did I say to anybody? What of my conversation yesterday? Did he defy me or belittle me? Was I productive the previous day? Okay, I have conceived this idea, we're going to do this. I review those ideas on a daily basis. If I have a clear vision, if I have a plan, if I have a strategic plan, mentally, I review the strategic plan of the companies I run on a daily basis. And I don't need to. So every moment, Kayode Ochasani was here. I was telling them 2 days ago, some of the processes of what we're doing, I have revised it. Even this one, I woke up in that moment of introspection. I also modified some of the things we want to do. And so you must do self-introspection, self-review of yourself, self-assessment of yourself. This self-assessment must be very brutal. Brutal in the sense that you're telling yourself the honest truth. Am I doing well? What have I done since the beginning of this year? What have I done this month? What have I done? What did I do last week? Is it working to? Was it contributing to where I'm going to go to? Am I just loafing around? Because one of the ironies of life, one of the tragedies of life is that I can see some of the young people here who may be in their 20s, before you know their 30s, their 40s, they think, you know what happens? You wake up in the morning and then you go to work, you walk by roads, do this, your routine work, go back the next day. January passes, February passes, before you need 12 months have passed, you added 1 year, and on and on and on, but you are not benchmarking yourself to what you have set out to achieve. You must benchmark yourself with what you have set out to achieve. You must review your actions and see if there are mistakes. You must assess how far you are doing on your journey. These things are very important for you to run a successful organization. If you are waiting for the strategy session every 3 months, you will not move the needle. You must do your strategic thinking on a daily basis, on your personal career goal and on the job you are doing. Ask yourself all the time, is this the best way to do the job? Is there anything we can do to do this job better? Also, open your mind to internalizing information. Look at what competition is doing. Look at the best way things are being done. It's very important. So if they have any routine, it's self-introspection. I do it before I drove from my office to here. I do self-introspection. And that's why I always tell people, look, if you clog your mind with noise, you will never allow the mind to process critical strategic thinking. And unfortunately, the Oyibos, and I say the Oyibos, and Americans have made sure they are dwarfing our minds. You put your music, you're listening, boom, 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 boom. When you say, I multitask. I went to Harvard, I've been to Stanford, and they told me in both schools that you cannot multitask and be at the peak of any of the job you're doing. It's not possible. They said you need some level. If you're reading, you need 1 hour of intensive, undistracted reading to get to the point where your brain starts, where you are assimilating the highest level. The same thing when you're working. If you have a document to review, people that work with me see how I review documents. I will collect every little detail because I have 100% attention to that document you think is serious that I'm reviewing. And if you ask me of anything I approved, I will remember it because my attention was 100% on it. But when you distract yourself with noise, and I'm saying it because a lot of people have their earphone, so you put it on, you are not able to think. Your mind is on the music, but you're not a musician. If you're a musician, it makes sense because you're listening to music, so you're going to create a new one because you have internalized what others are playing. But if you're not a musician, why are you clogging your mind with music all the time? I don't do that. Do you guys observe I don't wear? In fact, I no longer have it. It's about I no longer have it. I used to have it, but I no longer have it because I realize it's clogged my mind and does not allow me to think when I should think. So if you want to be extremely successful, you must use your mental capacity 100% plus your physical capacity. If you underutilize one, you will not achieve the most optimal results.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
So we have a question from the audience.
So
So-
let's start from the gentleman. Sir, please introduce yourself and your question, sir.
Cruz Kali is my name. I'm on sabbatical leave at one of the best investment banking firms in Nigeria, Kaori Assets. Okay, so my GMB, sir, I have a question for you. You know, in the 21st century corporate world, sustainability and profitability is a major choice to be made. So, sir, how do you reconcile sustainability of these interests and profitability?
Okay, the truth is that they are not mutually exclusive, and because they are pretending at being mutually exclusive. You need some level of profitability to be able to achieve your overall sustainability goal. Where people think they are mutually exclusive, they are compatibility. If you are pursuing profitability alone, then and you are doing things that are unethical or that will jeopardize the future, which is one of the things we have discussed here. So it ultimately unravels the future. But if you have, which is the first thing, you must define your overall long-term objective, which is the vision we're talking about. If you are defined, and then you define your strategic plan on how to achieve the vision, and you define do's and don'ts, which is what called core values. So when you define those things, every action you take must be in tandem with your core values, must be on the route to your strategic objective, and must be ultimately designed to achieve the overall vision. So in that case, you need profitability to pay salaries. You need profitability to retain the best people. But you can be profitable without being unethical. We just talked about where we said we are not going to do a government-related business, and we focus on private sector. And we know private sector will give us enough. Some of the transformation we've done as a corporate entity are part of the strategic objectives. Some of those strategic objectives could actually be you start a business that is not profitable in the meantime, but there must be profitability businesses, profitable business that you are doing that will sustain that one that is a growth objective. But it is necessary that for every business, because one of the things that we tell people, look, no business owner will continue to go and harvest money from somewhere and give you to pay your salaries when you say you're pursuing an objective. So your long-term objective must have measurable milestones. Even if the business starts with a non-profit operation, it must say, look, this lack of revenue will be for 3 years. We are going to grow this volume of our customers, this side of our customers to this level, but this is a break-even point. Then you are focused on, look, I want to be the best financial institution in the world. For me to be a best financial institution, I must conquer Lagos. So I need at least 10 million customers. But I have only maybe 200,000. But at 200,000, I can't make profits. But when I have 1 million, I will make profit. Because then what should be my strategy to acquire the 1 million customers? So you now define, am I going to offer convenience service? How do I convert people who are really loyal to other what am I going to offer? And I give you a live example. When we started Garden Express Bank, I was a pioneer CF, I was a pioneer staff. We conceptualized Garden Express Bank then. And then we came to start a bank. And then the people asked us, so what do you guys want to do? The big banks there were the likes of UBA, Union Bank, First Bank. Those were the 3 big banks. And we said to ourselves, you go to customer, everybody go to the same. You can have an account with UBA, I have account. Then Diamond Bank was there, GT Bank was there. Those are the next in line, the 2 of them. Access Bank was not there. Standard Trust was not there. That was later became part of UBA. So we said, ask ourselves, if we continue what we're doing, we're not going to even move the needle. We're not going to sky the surface. You go to every customer, they say, I have an account with First Bank. Remember that it's not the time when you have online payment. So it's check. So you have the right check. So the concept that it doesn't matter where your account is, if you have money with me, you are moving anywhere that was not existing. So why would they move money from First Bank to you and pay a customer who's also a First Bank, which you take clearing days were 4 days. So for any transaction you're going to do, remember, you have 4 days of delay. And what did we do? We say, look, if we have to survive, we have to be creative. What did we say? Look, one of the income streams of banks is what they call COT, cost of cost of transactions. So we said, look, we don't really have the customers, we don't have the transactions. So why do we want to charge COT? We came out and I granted interviews on NTA. We launched a zero COT back. What was it? Launched a zero COT bank. People say, what? I can do transaction without paying. And the customers started flooding to us. Because that COT was 5 per meal. For every 1 million naira, you pay 5,000 naira. 5,000 naira was a lot of money for people. As at that time, we introduced a zero COT, and then we did not have an account to be cannibalized, so it wasn't that we're going to lose anything because we never had the customers in the first place. And we say to ourselves, when the money is moved to us, we have a float. From the float, we place money, we lend. We didn't have money to lend. Remember that, so we didn't have money to place with any bank. And we would only be sitting there waiting for COT. But the customers came. For every month I flew to us, it will stay at me 4 days. Because even if you bring it today and issue a check, it will take 4 days for the check to get. So, and that 4 days, we'll place money, we became a name placer in the tobacco market. And then over time, we built what they call float balance. People now had confidence with us to even make their investment with us, place money with us. We began to lend. But what I'm just saying that, even in your strategic objective, you must be creative enough to know how to position yourself in the market, how to compete. So, overall growth objective will be oiled by the profitability of current operation. As long as that profitability is not from activities that will be injurious to the overall objective. Any activity that would damage your reputation as an individual or a corporate organization is not worth touching with a pole. Because that reputation damage cannot be repaired. You can repair any other thing, it's only you can repair. Okay. What happens in leadership is that sometimes a leader will have information that is not very easily available to everybody. And this leader may take a decision, but maybe information he has is false or wrong. Maybe he didn't know his information is wrong. Because the first thing you have to make sure that your decision must be very altruistic and must be logical. Did you get what I'm saying? Your decision must, based on sound logic, must be altruistic. Altruistic means it is the overall interest of everybody, every stakeholder. So, but it doesn't guarantee that you'll be correct. But one of the things I tell people about leadership is that if a leader is a good leader, because you have bad leadership and you got good leadership, if a leader is a good leader, you do not have to bullshit when, sorry for the use of that word, when you fail, when you make mistakes. The first thing you need to do is that when you make mistakes, which happens in every leadership, you count the cost of your mistake. You look at what went wrong. You look at how you got it wrong. And then you retrace your steps. And then you will. Some mistakes are irreparable. In fact, most mistakes are irreparable because mistakes are past. But what you do as a good leader, you will ask yourself what went wrong. What did I get wrong? Where did I miss? Okay? When you identify what you have missed, you make sure that it doesn't repeat itself. That's very key, that you don't repeat your mistakes. Okay? Then, you do not have to pretend that you are right. In fact, I think anybody who tells you I'm right, I have superior knowledge than everybody, is a fool. It's not wise. Because the benefit of collective wisdom is always superior to individual wisdom. So what you do when you make a wrong judgment is that you accept you have made a mistake. You fouled up. You don't pretend because you are MD, so you can't make mistakes. You accept you have fouled up, then you ask yourself what went wrong. What did I miss? What you miss may just be, like what I said, the opinions that your subordinate had expressed. And while we're saying that, your MD was motioning to me, I'll give an example. I'll come back to that example. So, what you may have missed is that they actually correct to be a taker knowledge that your subordinate have that you don't have, which you did not accept as part of the input for your decision making. So, but the basic thing is that one thing you must not fail to recognize that when you make a mistake, accept you have made a mistake, it doesn't demean you. In fact, the truth is, when you accept you make a mistake and repair it or take measures to make sure it doesn't happen again, it elevates you. It doesn't belittle you. So leaders must not be afraid to make mistakes. And in every position you are, everybody is playing a leadership role, no matter what level, we make a judgment call. Decisions are the responsibility of leaders at every level, including your children who go to school. You can come by a child and say, look, Mommy, I don't want to go with the bus. I want to drop me. I don't want to be dropping me. I want to go with the bus. The decision the child can make. Each of them have implications. But bear in mind that every decision you take has ramifications and implications. Every decision you take must have implications. If you take a wrong decision, the implication will be negative. If you take a right decision, the implication will be positive. But don't ever be afraid to retrace your steps. As a leader, I've never been afraid to retrace my steps. I made decisions that did not conform. I'll give you an example because I wanted to share with this one with the issue, but your MD is mentioning to me that you don't want to share it. Okay. But I'll come back and share it. So in Cowley, at days I can remember very well, push, which will happen, have a BDC. And I said, no, we shouldn't do BDC. We don't need to get involved in BDC business. Eventually, my decision was wrong. The BDC became a major lifeline for us. We eventually had to retrace my position that we shouldn't do BDC. And we got 5 BDCs. Hey, is that right? We got 5 BDCs. And BDC, for some period in time, gave us good money. Is that correct? So it was a decision I took. On the trade I was talking of, your last AGO, Miriam May, when Donald Trump made his announcement and price started going, I said we should lock 1,000 metric tons. I couldn't imagine that the drop we saw was going to go further. I didn't imagine that the market would react so violently because my training, because I said you can make wrong decisions. My training is that when the market has a flash drop, lock in. So I took it for a flash drop. I didn't know it was a systemic collapse. So eventually, we lost money because we looked at higher rate. We looked at 650 something. The price eventually got as low as 580. So, but I've not seen that before. Based on my own training and exposure, the judgment was that if you see a flat drop because of announcement effect, take it. So I took it. So at the end of the day, your MD followed it down. I realized he was right. From even when I tell her to lock her, she resisted. I allowed her. But what then I recognized that my training was wrongly applied in a different environment. So you don't sulk over it. One of the things you also know is that when you make a mistake, you don't sulk. You don't start weeping, the heavens are fallen. I have taken a wrong route. I will tell myself and regain it. One of the things you must not go away, live here without is that when you have a setback, you make effort to regain whatever you lost. Because setbacks are going to happen in life. There was something I told MD at some point I lived. When you go into transaction that it's a loss, most people say, let me hold on to it and the market will recover. No. And the story I used to say is that, look, you have a child, you are nursing the child died. You're not going to keep the child on your laps. So what do? Bury the child, go back to your husband. By the grace of God, you will conceive. Again, I have another child. If you continue to mourn on the dead child, it will not bring him back. You understand what I'm saying? So philosophies about successful entrepreneurs are that when they have a setback, they accept there was a mistake, but always make sure you learn from your mistakes. Don't allow any error to go unrecorded. the lessons of every mistake must be documented, and you must make sure you internalize it so that it doesn't happen again. When we had the market crash, I had to do a document that, look, the family business, family wealth must not be in one asset, this and that. I document and shared with them. I said, look, even when I'm old, this is the lesson from the capital market crash. Don't put all your money, no matter how profitable any transaction is, don't bet on your balance sheet. Make sure you don't, no matter how profitable it is, don't bet about it. But the summary is that accept you made a mistake, know the mistakes you made, document it, don't repeat it. Be bold enough to accept, be courageous enough to accept your mistakes. And finally, let me mention this to you, young people. The position you are in life is a summation, is a product of the decisions you took along your journeys of life. Where you are in life is a product of the decision you've taken. Some of them had a minus, some had a positive. But as long as the decisions, most of them are positive, they will give you a higher present value, net present value. That's what they call it. Profs is here. That's what we call the decision tree. If any of you did anything I call decision tree, you know that the decision node, we have to take a decision. Go right or go left. Take this. You compute the net present value of that point and compare it to the net present value of the other one. Take this decision. Take a route. And cumulatively, that is how our lives are built. So the decisions you take in life, you should try to make sure that your deliberations are thought through, they are deliberate, and you reassess the decisions on a regular by which you are talking about introspection, so that you will able to continue to compute your present value. Ultimately, wherever you achieve in life, the value you have created as a person will be a summation of the decisions you took. Like I said, the ones that are negative must be so infinitesimal in the weight when they put the context of those that are positive, but they will certainly be negatives.
If your hands are not so busy, carry your round of applause for the time.
Ma, I don't know if it's addressed to concise the questions you wanted to ask, or is to...
No, just okay. Shemal sir, thank you again. Just to ask more question. Is it wrong for a leader to accept before his or her colleagues that he or she made a wrong decision? Or you just internalize it and try to make better decisions?
Okay, what the leader should do is that when you make a wrong decision, you accept you have made a wrong decision, and you can accept that with whoever is involved. What the leader shouldn't do is to dwell on that mistake and continue to bring it back, and then cloud his emotional life so that he's not able to look forward and do the right things. So what I do is that when I make a wrong decision, I will confirm to you that I made a wrong decision, so we'll move on. But if it's now brought back and then the pushing on your face, that becomes damaging, because it's going to bring in negative emotions. Those negative emotions will not allow you take actions to, in fact, what happens to people, you will now begin to lock in and begin to protect yourself. That way, the benefit of the mistake you made is now lost, and then you're not able to lift your mind up. So once in leadership, once you guys have discussed it, mistake your subordinate, if a subordinate makes a mistake, or whoever, your boss or whoever, you guys have discussed it, don't dwell on it again. Focus on how do I create a value that will outweigh or neutralize what, even if you one person that made that mistake and he had brought all of you down. Identify the mistake, express your opinion on if it was a reckless mistake. If it was a mistake born out of altruistic motive, accept it was a genuine error. Then ask yourself what went wrong, but don't come back to it. Focus on what we need to do to regain the lost ground. That is very important in leadership. Otherwise, once you go back and you keep pushing to the person first, you made us put this, you made us do this, the person locks out and then it's no longer contributing. It now begins to perceive negativities. And you are dwelling on negatives. And one of the things I told somebody yesterday about leadership is that a good leader is forward-looking. You look at the mistakes, you recognize the mistakes, you know what went wrong, you internalize it, you learn from it, but you don't dwell on it. You don't look back. You continue to look forward. Because it's only when you continue to look forward that you're going to regain the lost grounds. But for those of us who are playing that situation, when there's a mistake, discuss the mistake, know what went wrong, so they don't repeat it, but don't dwell on it. Once it's discussed, don't even bring it up again. Anytime you bring it up, it's negative energy. And it doesn't help the person who did the mistake. It doesn't help you. So you're just holding yourself down. And I'm sharing this with those of you because I know in instances where you can have a somebody who made a mistake. I said, you put us in this mess. You put us in this mess. The fact that you say it 100 times does not change it. Oh, we're all in this mess, so no problem. So how do we come out of this mess? Forget about who put you in the mess. Focus on how you, because otherwise you are not going to move forward. So that's what I do. So sometimes you see me when a decision is made and we know we've made a mistake. Whoever made a mistake in the organization, we've lost money now. We lost money. Somebody had made a dumb judgment. You lost money. I don't want to repeat the ones that it's not here. I would have mentioned that some of the mistakes he made, and we lost money. And then I would tell him, you fouled up, And then for me, next thing is I fold my sleeves. If I need to go and fight those people and recover part of it, I wouldn't even mention to them a staff took that decision. You understand what I'm saying? So the key thing about leadership is that when mistakes happen, because there's no way you make mistakes in the organization. When it happens, the organization will identify what went wrong, address that so it doesn't happen again, and own the problem. It becomes an organizational problem. And focus on governing the energies of everybody to recover lost ground. Because once you begin to dwell on the individual who made a mistake, you are dead on arrival. So that's the lesson I want to get here.
So we'll get 2 more questions to bring. Getting questions from the gentleman. Can we have 2 more questions from the lady before we call it a day? Please, the lady first to remain. She had her hands up.
The younger people, the tech boys are there, science. What do they obey? You have the generation of Aspa and Gen Z now. Values are shifting. This traditional way of doing things have changed. We come to work 9 to 5, working. So people will say that the most important thing is making their own contribution of handling their own responsibilities. So it doesn't matter if they work 9 to 5 or 5 to 9 or 12 to 4. So what ways have you had to adjust? Because you've been a leader for a while and you're still a leader. I'm sure you are working with young people, and I know that you like working with young people because they are very dynamic, they are open to learn. So what ways have you had to adjust to, beyond people while still maintaining your values? You've not had to change your values. You had to adjust to working with young people. And what ways are you also instilling your values in these young people?
Okay, what we're seeing is not a change in core values. What we're seeing is a change in practices. The core values will remain for life. Values of honesty, hard work, integrity, all those values will remain forever. So what you're seeing is change in the environment. Those that change environment and change in practices. I'll give you an instance. Hard work. Even when I started banking, was that there was no laptop. In fact, I started banking when there was nothing called laptop in Nigeria. Okay? Internet was in, there were people who had internet at home. In fact, we used to talk about $4 had internet at home and stuff like that. So if you have internet at home in VI, people will know. And then eventually the offices had the internet. So I started working when there was nothing called internet. But in any case, the best thing I want to share with you that hard work then was, you get to the office by 6:30, you work till 8, 9, you go home, you come back the next morning. For those of us in financial control, we work Saturday and Sunday. Because I'm sure maybe Prof will, I don't think anybody of you will have had an idea what I'm talking about now. We had the adding machine. To balance your ledger, the ledger was hand prepared. So you have a machine. Then the ruler, the thing will be rolling as you're typing the numbers. 1,250 plus, 1,330 plus. Then when you finish, it will add, and you're adding. Then you print it out. You then put it by the side of the ledger. You'll be taking to be sure that the figures you type, so that when you confirm that you can analyze the total, then you do it again on the, if you have on the balance sheet, you did it on the asset side, on the side, liability side, maybe it doesn't balance. You start checking your big again. Just tell you, but that was hard work. But the practice has changed. Today we have convergence, almost everything can be on your phone. So, but it does, hard work has not changed. The only thing the practices have changed. So, the core values have not changed. But every dynamic leadership and organization must also adapt to changes in practices. Am I going to say that because I learned that? And I give you guys an example. There's a guy called, I remember his name now. When I was in Intercontinental Merchant Bank, in 1995 or 1994, they introduced, they began to bring what do you call it, PC, personal computer, to us. The bank bought its personal computers. And then they had, in 1993, brought what they call electronic typewriter. The electronic typewriter could have memories for the last 2 jobs you did. Because the pure typewriter you had was, they finish typing the document, print it, there's a mistake, you have to retype it again. You guys don't know what we went through. You know, you type a letter,
It's the transition that is amazing.
and then if somebody, you must ASDH space colon LKJ space A. That's how you would type, so you must learn it. Then you finish typing, you give it to your boss. He reads and say, Johnson, go and collect this. You have to type it again because they will clean up. You started up again from address, that. So you can imagine how task it was. They did now introduce electronic typewriter. So the electronic typewriter will have memories of the last 2 document words you did. So you must make sure your guy collects everything before you keep the 2 other tests. Because those other tests will wipe out the first one that you did. So in any case, we transited to a personal computer. And this particular person, who was Secretary Head of Human Resources, refused to accept, because it was so good with the electronic typewriter. So we kept telling him that this thing you are not doing, so he said no. But remember that we were all struggling to even use the piece. They will be able to teach us. They will arrange this kind of training just to teach you how to use the piece. They introduced to us who were think on Lotus 1, 2, 3. That was the 4 era to spreadsheets. Okay, but you had formula. It was formula based, so you have to learn the formula. So in any case, this guy refused to adapt. Eventually, I left in 1997. I think by 1998, they asked him to go. What happened was, IBM, that was also the people who were buying the PC from, phased out electronic typewriter. So the typewriter will easily become unserviceable. It broke down, they couldn't repair it. And every other secretary had learned how to use it, so they asked him to go. But what I'm just saying is that core values remain, practices are changing. For you as an individual, you must be open to new practices. For organization, they must be open to new practices. The dynamism of practices are so unique. The other day, somebody was saying that Ayo is here now, and Henry is here. That was but they didn't meet 1 day ago. That whether the migration we're going to Microsoft Google Chat. We should remain with WhatsApp. And then we say Google Chat, but not people have embraced it and stuff like that. So there was a comment that was made and said, look, that Google Chat is also evidence for legal cases. It's admissible in court. But Haley now put in, or Haley or one of you put in and said, look, even today, we have amended the law, evidence law, as a country, to accept communication, electronic communication. Previously, if it's not signed on a paper, it was unadmissible. So what I'm just saying is that the values have not changed, practices are changing. The core values which you hold on to will not change. The practices will change. The practices do not subtract from the core values. Core values are, like I say, hard work, honesty, loyalty, stuff like that. They won't change. So if somebody working from home and hard working, it will still show.
Thank you very much. Yes. Great, that's you.
We'll take one last question from our audience so we can wrap up for today.
What strategies do you use to promote diversity and inclusion in alignment with your values?
Okay. For us, promoting diversity and inclusion is that the values I believe in is that we are all created equally, we are all equally endowed, and that I don't know what it has to do with my upbringing. I don't know where I picked it from. I am blind to sex, I'm blind to race, I'm blind to tribe. So, probably because I also came from the East, schooled in the West. So I wouldn't know how I picked, but I realized that for me, it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. I won't judge you based on where you come from, whether you are young or tall, short or tall, man or woman, fair or dark. I judge you based on what values you give, you bring. So for us, because we are race blind, sex blind, height blind, other things, people just come. We are only conscious of one factor. What value? What's your competence? What's your unique celebration? I think one nation played the music and said, what's your selling points? So you must come with a selling point. If you have a selling point, you are in you are in with us. So, and for that reason, we don't know that. I don't even know whether a person is a man. And if we're giving assignment, we also don't care whether you're a man or woman. So you can't come to me and say, look, you don't have a woman. I want you to remember a woman.
Thank you very much, sir.
So we'll call on our MD to help us in giving us a vote of thanks to appreciate our chairman and for everyone who has joined us today. Our online audience most especially, thank you so very much. This is the first maiden edition. There's going to be a second and subsequent one for
The next quarter.
So we look forward to you joining us online, and for our fiscal audience, we appreciate you for your time and for joining us today. Thank you very much.
Very good. Chairman, sir, thank you so much. We can't thank you enough, sir. I know what it takes to bring you out, for you to be here for 2 hours. And I'm sure we have learned a lot, both everyone here and the people on the Atlanta bus. Everyone is the leader somehow. So whatever position you see yourself, please do make good use of it. Do not feel threatened by being a leader or being given a responsibility. So there's a lot to be learned and a lot to make us move forward as well. So on this note, Chairman, thank you so much. We'll call on Leke. I believe whenever we call on you, you'll be there to answer us. Thank you so much, sir. We truly appreciate it. And to our beautiful host, Elizabeth and Keranoja, for this heightened, a wonderful, wonderful host. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's just so hit of care there. So today, they wished you to stay here all through, but again, they have to go and work heavily. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you and God bless.